What's going on, everyone? Last year, Buddy Hield was officially supposed to be a Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers had a deal lined up and in place to trade for Buddy Hield to pair with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and then decided to go a completely different direction and sign Russell Westbrook, thus nullifying any potential of Buddy Hield coming to the Lakers. Buddy Hield ended up going to the Indiana Pacers, and ever since then, it's kind of like Buddy Hield has been that one that's gotten away, right? And the Lakers seem destined to do whatever it takes to reconcile that and get him back. Now, whether that happens or not is yet to be seen, but supposedly the Lakers are still trying to figure out a way to go get Buddy Hield and to finally see Hield in a Lakers uniform. The problem is the Indiana Pacers are reported to not want Russell Westbrook, so the Lakers would have to give up other pieces in order to get Buddy Hield. The problem is, I don't know how you get there. The Lakers obviously would start with THT and Kendrick Nunn, but beyond those two, the money has to fit. I mean, the Lakers are over the cap, so you probably got to give up those two, giving up Wynn and Gabriel, maybe a draft pick, something like that, to entice the Indiana Pacers. And I don't know if Buddy Hield moves the needle that much. Unless you're working out like a 3-team deal where another team takes on Russ and then you're getting Buddy Hield, maybe something along those lines, and that's working out. I could see that being the case. But I think just a straight up Lakers Pacers trade for Buddy Hield, I just don't see a way that the Lakers actually get there. Now, if they can figure out a way to get Buddy Hield, then I am all for it. Like, why not? You know, he's been one of the top shooters in the league. He's made more threes than anybody besides Steph and Clay. So that is huge and would be a huge asset for the Lakers, especially with Russell Westbrook if you don't end up trading Westbrook, right? So, like, if they ended up finding a way to do it straight up without having to give up Westbrook, even then, you still have Hield, which would be a great compliment next to Westbrook. You have LeBron, Davis. It would just be a nice natural fit and something the Lakers desperately need. But beyond that trade, if you're not giving up Westbrook, the biggest concern I see is the Lakers are in this very tight spot where they have to fill out a roster, and they have so many needs and so many things that they have to get done and players that they have to sign, and they don't have a lot of money to do that. They have the taxpayer mid-level, and then beyond that, it's nothing but vet minimum contracts. So the issue is you're giving up, in this case, let's say you don't give up Westbrook, you're giving up essentially a 3-for-1 swap. And that is not something you need to do. Now, if we were like the Clippers and we were like 15 players deep and it's like we need to unload some of these guys, then absolutely, give up a couple pieces. But the problem is we don't have any mid-tier contracts. We don't have any mid-tier guys that you can take 2 or 3 of them, piece them together, and go get a guy like Buddy Hield and then, make out the rest of your roster or still be, 8 to 9 guys deep. And that, I think, is the biggest problem for the Lakers. I don't know how who's your third option that you're sending out to go get a Buddy Hield? Yeah, THT and Kendrick Nunn, but even from a Pacers perspective, is that something that they want? Is that something that they would desire? Because THT is a player option for $11 million. Kendrick Nunn, yeah, he would be an expiring contract, but Indiana seems to be in this rebuild mode, right? They want to rebuild. They want to, build around the young assets that they currently have. THT would be that young asset. He's still very young. He's still a guy with tons of growth and potential buried inside there. People also need to keep in mind that THT broke his hand before last season, and it was on his shooting hand, so there was issues and things like that. If he can get right and he can be more of a consistent shooter, I don't know if he'll be a knockdown shooter, but more of a consistent shooter, he could be a very quality asset for a team, especially a young team that is rebuilding. He has experience, he has things that many young players don't have, and so that's a luxury in and of itself. But how desperately does the Indiana Pacers want to move off of Buddy Hield, especially when other teams, they may want to go and get Hield, right? And they could probably offer better packages. Like I said, the Clippers, for example. Let's say they're like, hey, we could use another shooter. I imagine the Clippers are probably going to be big players in this offseason because they just have too much. They're literally 14 to 15 players deep. And I know that sounds great on paper, but in reality, you're going to have a lot of DMPs. You're going to have a lot of guys that just when you get to the playoffs aren't going to play. And there is such a thing as too much depth. So, a team like the Clippers, they may package 3 guys to go get a Buddy Hield and something like that, or go get a center, or there's multiple ways that they could go about it. The Lakers just don't have that luxury. The Lakers are actually in the complete opposite situation. They can't really afford to do 3-for-1 swaps unless it's, somebody like a Bradley Beal who can, single-handedly help you win a championship. Like, Hield would be nice, but chances are he's not going to be a starter. He's going to be a guy off the bench, likely your 6th man. And as great of a skill set as he has, he doesn't offer very much beyond that. He's not really a defender. He's not, a guy that's going to go and get you 10 boards or, can guard multiple positions or anything like that. Like, yeah, he's a great shooter. And when he's on. But the Lakers just need more than just shooting. I don't think the Lakers are going to have a trouble scoring. Like, even last year, as bad as the Lakers shooting was, they usually were putting up pretty decent numbers as far as point-wise goes. The issue was they couldn't stop anybody. So when you can't shoot and you can't stop anybody, that's usually not a good combination and why they lost so many games. So I don't think the Lakers have an issue with scoring. I think they need more defensive guys. Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Russell Westbrook are likely going to provide you enough points for what you need. And then whatever else gets sprinkled in is what gets sprinkled in. I mean, it would be nice to get that consistent guy, but I just think you're better off keeping Kendrick Nunn. And maybe it's just me personally. Maybe I'm just too high on Nunn, but I just think of the guy that was the player we saw in Miami. And if he can get back to even half of that, he is going to be such a huge asset for the Lakers. Not only that, he provides so much more than Buddy Hield does. Because, yes, Kendrick Nunn, he's not the greatest shooter in the world. He shot I believe 30% or 32%, something like that, from 3. But he's another ball handler. He's a guy that can play on and off the ball. He's a guy that can consistently go and get you 15 a night, as he did with the Heat. And he was torching teams in the playoffs. Even against the Lakers in the NBA Finals, he was putting up great numbers, putting up 20, 30-point games, stuff like that. So I think that he just provides a lot of what we need over just Buddy Hield. Like, I would rather have, a roster full of 5 or 6 guys that are just league average but can defend. Because I think that is more important for the Lakers at this current time than anything else. I mean, yeah, of course, if you can get a lights-out shooter, great. But in reality, you're probably not going to be able to do that. And the Lakers just aren't in a position to go and make 3-for-1 swaps. So if you can get a bunch of league average shooters, that's all you need. You just need guys that are respectable, right? That teams have to honor. That, you aren't a complete liability. That aren't shooting, 20% from 3. Like, if you get a guy that can shoot, 35 to 37%, somewhere along those lines, knock down shots, but can play defense and can play within the schemes, that is more than enough. That is all you could ask for. So I just think the allure of Buddy Hield is bigger than what the actual need is. I think it's more of just he was the guy we should have gotten. We didn't get it. Can we get it to kind of rectify this? Can we get him still? And then we can, kind of tell fans, look, we still ended up with Buddy Hield. Even though we traded for Westbrook, we still got Hield. Look, it's the same outcome. Only this time we have Westbrook and Hield. I just think that, that's kind of the thinking behind that. I think it's just kind of I don't ever want to have that what if. And the fans are always well, what would have happened if we would have had Buddy Hield? That kind of thing. And I think that's just kind of what the Lakers are kind of pandering to personally. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your opinion down in the comment section below. What do you think about the Lakers going and obtaining Buddy Hield? Do you think, no, too late, it passed, what's done is done, time to move on? Do you think, no, if you can make it happen, THT, winning Gabriel, Kendrick Nunn, do it, make it happen, bring Buddy Hield. He's going to provide that shooting. He's going to be that consistent, 3-point shot, that threat that the Lakers truly need. I completely understand that. And I do think to some level it makes sense. I just look at everything the Lakers need and how they need to fill out their roster, and I just don't know how they get there if they go and trade for Buddy Hield. I mean, they're likely going to have, they're going to have Davis, you're going to have Hield, you're going to have LeBron, and you're going to have Westbrook, and then, Austin Reeves, Stanley Johnson, there's your 6. You have 6 guys there that you can run. And then after that, it's just going to be undrafted free agents and maybe 1 or 2 guys that you can get. I just think the back end of your roster is going to be terrible. And you have to keep in mind, LeBron's probably missing 20 games. Anthony Davis is probably missing 20 games. So you need to have enough depth to make up for their lack of playing, because that was the problem. That's why the Lakers didn't make the playoffs. I mean, the Lakers, as bad as they were last year, still were a playoff team if Anthony Davis and LeBron James played a chunk of those games. The problem is they just both missed so many games that just you weren't going to get there, not with just Westbrook. But again, would love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. One last little shameless plug is I did start As It Stands Lakers. It is a channel just like this, dedicated to only the Lakers, because the Lakers are my favorite team. And on this channel, As It Stands, I talk about all teams, all sports, stuff like that. We have football season coming up, so I'm definitely looking forward to that as well. And I just wanted to make a dedicated channel to the Lakers to give the ins and outs. Now, all the big stuff, all the big news and stuff, I will still post here on this channel. But if you want all the ins and outs and just rumors and theories and just discussions just strictly on the Lakers, link down in the description or in the comment section. Go check out the channel, subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot, lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.